Hello, guys, everyone. I hope you had a good day so far. My name is Stephanie, and I want to say welcome and thank you all for tuning in to today's little session. I know you had a long day already. So, I would like to invite you to talk about how to stand out with unique stories. And I wanted to say thanks to Vimeo for having me and for making all this event possible. It's a really good thing. So, let's jump into our agenda for the next 30 minutes or so. So I'm going to give you a really quick intro on who I am and why I think stories are important. And then we're going to jump into the challenges of finding original stories. And I'm going to take you through what I've learned so far when it comes to discovering unique stories. And then I know, product integration is always a big topic for all of us. So we're also going to quickly talk about that. And then hopefully there's going to be some time left for some questions and answers. So let's start. Hi, I'm Stephanie. So I'm a director. I mainly shoot commercials. I started with music videos about 10 years ago. And I don't only work in one category because I always try to look for challenges because I find repeating yourself becomes boring really quickly. And I would love to keep this job for a really long time. So I try to find stuff that is interesting and new and where I can learn. And so I'm super happy to share some stuff about that today. My client list includes all kinds of brands. It starts with Google, but also car brands like Mercedes, Porsche, but also sport, fashion, and lifestyle brands. And I actually studied branding, so marketing, before I became a director. So in this presentation, you're also going to have some insights about brand perspectives. And, for me, it's kind of hard to ignore, just the brand side or the product aspects. So my mission is kind of to merge these two worlds and show that they can coexist in inspiring ways. So this is how we get to today's topic, which is why I believe that stories are important. So, in our everyday life, especially because we spend a lot of time on our phone, in social media and other platforms, what do we find? We actually find a very big accumulation of impressions, of moments, of bits and pieces. And, we kind of, we just forget about it in a second, right? I mean, how much do you remember from your Instagram feed this morning? But there's one thing we do not forget about so easily, and that is what you guess, a story. So I think a story is super special because it has the power to move us in any way. It can be through empathy, through humor, through surprise, inspiration, or, in the best case, it gives you a new perspective. So it can really make you feel stuff. So I think there's a lot of advantages when it comes to using storytelling for your commercials. So the best way, first of all, is I think that you're able to connect with the audience on an emotional level. And this is kind of the same way you connect to the audience. You connect in real life, right? It's the same thing that shapes our human connections. And through that, there can be a human truth in your films. And also a connection to the product and to the brand. Everything becomes more human in a way. And therefore, we also create something that people care about, and therefore they engage and remember way more easily. And also, it's a really great chance to create awareness and a feeling for the brand's values. So as a brand, you can show your identity and not just the product. So this is pretty great. But even the product, you can charge with much more than just all its functions. So there's the emotional engagement, which I just talked about, but you can also make it easier to remember the functions and also simplify explaining them, because there's a possibility to show them in a very relatable context, so a context that we all know from our everyday life. And in that way, really, it's quite easy or not easy, but it's a possibility to create authenticity and relevance because you show it in a real use case scenario. Plus, I think there's one thing we shouldn't forget about, which is like how society is changing and how our values are changing. Because, status symbols are not anymore about how much you paid for something or, just a price tag. But, there's a really important thing, and this is that people really want to share stories. When they buy a product, they really want a story to come with it they can share. And this is sort of the new status symbol, which is way nicer than just the price tag. So we have a challenge. How do we find these original stories? So when we start with a new task, we all do this. We usually tend to think about the outcome and how it's going to land. And then what really easily happens is that we base our decisions on fear, on the pressure, on, how many likes it's going to get, on the judgment of other people, but also really on the judgment of ourselves, because we can be quite harsh to ourselves. And what do? Therefore, we look outwards for inspiration. So we check, what have our competitors done lately? What has won awards? What do we see on our Instagram and Vimeo feed? What's the staff pick? And this, of course, this gives us instant inspiration. It's like fast food, bulletproof solutions for getting inspiration, right? But, also it's kind of a trap, because it makes it so much harder to create something that is original, because, we have all this great work made by other people in our heads. And if we start with this as a base, the chances are that it could feel repetitive. It would probably feel okay, it would probably hit the zeitgeist, but, also it might not really move anyone. But at least you would be kind of on the safe side, right? So, I don't know, I think it's worth exploring another route. So what have I learned so far when it comes to discovering genuine stories? I think what we all underestimate is that there's so much actually within yourself and within the everyday life around you. So super often we are just basically lacking courage to look for inspiration in those fields, because, it feels too simple. Like our own life, it feels too simple maybe to put in a big story, right? It's not relevant enough. Those thoughts are very understandable, I think. And we've all been there, and we see the great work out there, and we want to create something that's just really, really big. But I really believe that something that resonates with you will also resonate with a broader audience, because we're all human beings and we're all kind of the same kind. So, there's like one very simple question that can help with it. And you can even make this a practice for like every day. If you just ask yourself, what resonated with me today? So today, what have been moments where I felt really strong emotions, or just stuff that made me feel something that surprised me maybe, something that felt new to me or very old maybe. What caught your attention? What made you wonder about stuff? What made you curious? I think curiosity is really, really key, and like sort of the magic to life. And maybe there were some personal experiences from your past that you've been reminded of. For example, I would like to show you how you can implement this in a film then. For example, I've observed some teenagers when I was sitting in the cafe. That reminded me of like my very first heartbreak, and how intense everything was at that time. I think adolescence is a great topic anyway for inspiration. And then, I thought more about my youth, and then, about like a betrayal I encountered from my best friend. And, we also all kind of live in slightly dysfunctional families. So, there was also the topic popping up of like feeling alone inside a family construct. If you're surrounded by people that love you and you love them, but still you can't feel like you can tell them maybe. And then I tried pairing this with a product integration, because Google asked me to integrate, so it was for Google Pixel for a telephone, and they asked me to make a commercial and integrate the magic eraser function, which is basically a function where when you took a photo, you can erase things or people out of the background. So I would love to show you the film that we made from this use case scenario.
Lennox, jetzt komm schon. Lennox, ich will mit dir tanzen.
Kann ich tanzen?
Ach, sein bester Freund, Lennox.
Ja, klar.
mit jemandem, den du nicht magst.
Wenn es jetzt im Wasser ist.
Du zuerst. Das ist ein guter Song, ne?
Das ist unser Ding jetzt.
Lennox, wie geht's eigentlich Sophie?
Gut.
Schön.
Ja, du sagst mir jetzt, was los ist bei ihr.
Lennox sollte dieses Jahr mal mit einer jungen Gruppe wegfahren.
Oh.
Ja, das passt eigentlich auch ganz gut. Und wir sind, keine Ahnung, auf 1000 Hochzeiten eingeladen.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed watching the film. My point is really that you don't really need external inspiration for those type of stories because you've been there, you lived through them, and you know how they felt. You know exactly what happened, the motivation, your fear. Just like all authentic truth behind those emotions, basically. So I would really suggest to, dig in your own history, write it down, be as truthful and as specific as possible. And yeah, just, really write down your own memories and your own emotions that you had and the stuff that you wanted. So all these stories, even if they're very unique to your life, are very universal actually. We all felt something like that, and this is why we can relate. And but of course, you cannot always just take inspiration from your own life. That would also be a bit weird. But I think it's super, super, super important and really magical if you're curious about other people's stories. So, a hack I found was we all super often, we're stuck in like what we might consider boring small talk situations. But I really think that it's in your hands to transform that and transform small talk into deep talk and to actually really gain a lot of inspiration from those conversations. So I would love to encourage all of you to next time when you're stuck with somebody you don't know, and instead of asking about the weather, just ask them about their experiences. Ask them about challenges. Ask them why their marriage didn't work out. Ask them about motivation for their job, for why they stood up this morning, what made them, I don't know, take the subway instead of the bike. Ask them about dreams, about fears, about anything basically. And most important, really ask why. And something really, really beautiful happens when you do that, because you will not only make them feel, make yourself feel like more fulfilled, but you will also make that person feel really seen. And also you get the materials for stories that did not directly happen to you. So an example for this is the next Google film that I'm also going to show you. And that function from the Google Pixel phone was a live translator. And I didn't have too much experience with different language settings and so on, like not too many things to dig around in my own history. So I started with asking my team. And one of my favorite producers, she told me, about one thing she encountered, which was that she felt that she's the only one in the family who isn't really talented with languages, and everybody else is super talented with it. And that would make her a bit conscious and maybe even scared to talk in another language. So I took this as one part of the inspiration to form a character. But Also I had somebody else telling me about a situation where they were scared of introducing a new partner to their family after the old one basically was a part of the family. And, now there's the new person. So dealing with insecurities of people is a really, really interesting topic. And that's why I would love to show you the next Google film.
Oh, ich rauche eigentlich gar nicht. Ich rauche nicht? I'm not so talented with languages.
Solo me querías atraer hacia afuera.
Du wolltest mich nur herauslocken.
Vielleicht.
What is your talent then? I'm so excited to meet them. They look so nice.
I'm gonna love you.
This one is Moritz?
Aha.
Ah, ja. Und wer ist das?
Ja, das ist Lisa. Das ist meine Ex-Freundin.
But you told them I'm coming, right?
Klar.
Ok, Google, ¿qué regalos de invitados hay en Brandenburgo?
Estos son los resultados de una búsqueda.
Geschenke! Oh, was ist das?
Für deine Familie?
Hallo.
Hallo.
Mama, das ist Lucia. Meine Freundin.
Für dich. Danke, Schatjanis.
Hast du doch gedacht? You didn't tell them.
Lucia, können wir vielleicht kurz reden?
Kannst du mir eine Pellkartoffel draufnehmen, Luisa? Lucia. Entschuldigung. Danke. Ist manchmal ein bisschen kompliziert, mit Hannas Liebschaften mitzuhalten.
Mama.
Ja, ist doch so.
Are we good?
Yes.
Hey guys. So there's 3 films in total in this Google series if you want to check them out on Vimeo later on. But overall, I just wanted to give you some suggestions of what I think really helps or what I do if you just want to dig into the topic later on after the session, because of course we are a bit limited in our time. But I think it really, really, really helps to be interested in the psychology of people, just studying why people do certain things and why they don't do certain things. It's really interesting also for your private life. And, then of course it really helps to learn the basics of storytelling. What are a character's needs? Then you can throw them some obstacles and, you're gonna have some actions afterwards that are very truthful and do not feel random anymore. And it just helps you so much when you write a story. So, just take a Saturday and dig into it. There's great videos online. There's great books about this. It's really not super complicated, but it's going to help you so much. And then I think this is probably the most important thing, because we as grown-ups, we kind of forgot how to play. And, we put all this pressure on ourselves and we aren't really kind to ourselves in the way we talk to ourselves. So I would love to invite you to, just take the pressure away of nailing the first draft and just, be curious, play, have fun with it. Just start with writing some stuff down every day. What you encountered, what was inspiring for you, something that popped up from your memories. And if you have a task or a script or a character and you don't know something, just talk to people, have conversations, start in your team, start with your partner. If you want to write about certain type of people, go and find these people, talk to them. And the last part, integrating products in an authentic way, because we all know that challenge, right? We have this super beautiful story, and then we need to squeeze in the product, and you're like, damn it, how do I get in this product? And then it ends up a bit forced. So I think this doesn't really work too well. So, let's not ignore that there's a product, and let's actually embrace it. And what I think really helps is I usually tend to think of what are the real use cases? What do people really use that product for in real life? Is it putting their glass on their mobile phone? Or is it what the brand would like to see? Which is, I don't know, the people using their product for creativity, creative output. And, your job is to kind of find the charming truth in between. And I think it really helps. And I would suggest to next time, just use the product as a starting point for the story, which might sound like you would have a super product centered film afterwards, but it's not necessarily true, but you weave in the product into the story in a way that it can't be taken out anymore. And I think this is really important, and then it becomes really authentic. So, next time just brainstorm what could happen to or with the product, what would happen to the person using it, what would happen in like the really real world. If you're on a bus and you see a person using that product, how would that look like? And, how can we push this? How can we heighten this and make this like even more interesting? Because we don't have to shoot a documentary, we can push things a little bit. So that really helps. And in general, let's not see the product as an obstacle, but really as an opportunity for more original storytelling, for finding different angles on moments, on the product, on stories by itself. So that's it from my side. I'm receiving some questions here. How can you push with long length when nowadays clients only want max 30 seconds added in reels and social media fast contents? That is a very good question. So of course it really helps if the client is open for it. And usually, super often it's also a money thing. So, if you can manage to shoot a story in the same days of the shoot and then present them a longer edit, that really helps usually. But also just talking to them, as I said, we're all human beings, we're all people. And, if you can convince them on why stories do make sense with all the stuff, I was mentioning before, maybe there is a chance. Question 2, do you think this can be applied to all kinds of video productions, like tutorials, commercial, TikToks, etc.? That's a really good question. I think some parts, definitely. Because like I said, through storytelling, and that can be bits and pieces, you really connect more on an emotional level. And people are going to remember it better. So even if it's just a snippet, or I tend to do that with vignette commercials as well, for example, when you only have a short moment of a person doing something, and you could direct that person and say, hey, you go over there and you open that box and then you place it on that table and then you smile. But, it's not going to feel like there's been happening more. So I always try to weave it into a little story just for the directing part. It's also going to help the cast a lot. And you're going to have the feeling that something has happened before that scene, and something's going to happen afterwards. So, really try to find little stories, little bits and pieces. Why are you picking up that box? What do you expect there to be in there? Is it better? Is it worse? And then always when you look at it as a director or as a person who produces videos, I always just ask yourself the question, do I believe that? Like, do I believe that person in the moment? And if it doesn't feel real to you, change it up. Question 3, how do you enrich a story through visual details? because writing a story, it's brilliant, but how do you decide to have a prop on the scene rather than a broken window or an animal on the scene or anything else? How do you take these decisions which are not related with the story itself? I think that everything should be related to the story, basically. It's like colors have a meaning, right? So if a person is in the room and that room is super messy, it's gonna say something about that person. It's gonna give you a vibe. I think this is actually the art of storytelling. Like, use all the tools you have to craft that story. Also the camera, especially, don't use the camera just for visual tricks unless you decide it's going to be a visual trick commercial. But if you want to tell a story, how can camera movement, how can light, how can color enhance it? Could an animal enhance it? If there's a cat, will it make the character look more lonely, or will it, I don't know, have a different outcome? So really be curious and try to just direct everything towards the story you want to tell. Great. No more questions, I think. Okay, one more. Knowing videos now are more into being engaging and quick and lacking that feeling of connection. I'm not sure I understand that question in the right way. Do you think adding emotions to a story makes it better for the viewer, or is that era over? No, I totally believe that adding emotions to a story makes it so much better, especially in our era, because of all this quick, the super quick fast food content we see. So I think it's really, like, we all lack human connections in our world. So if you can add this to the world, that's super great. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you so much for having me. Goodbye.